Hey everyone, this is Amanda Eke, host of the Poet Speaks podcast. Welcome to season 5. I talk to poets from all over the world engaged in spoken word, slam poetry, and oral traditions. And we were named as one of Strategic Media Inc.'s top 5 podcasts by Black creators in February of 2022. Tune in weekly to listen to me and poets talk about performing, oral tradition, and most importantly, they tell me why they need to get their words out. And guess what? If you or your organization wants to be a guest or a sponsor of our podcast, let us know and message us on Instagram and Facebook at The Poet Speaks Podcast. Enjoy. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to The Poet Speaks Podcast. Our next guest gives a loud voice to what has been silenced by removing shame. As a survivor of assault, she hopes her words shimmer and resonate as she exposes the humanity of being flawed, addressing stigmatizations with blunt, riveting force where nobody gets off the hook. Her debut poetry collection is Out of the Weeds. Her work has appeared in literary journals such as Rogue Agent, Alpha Female Society, Rat's Ass Review, as well as several print anthologies and ebooks. She hosts OC Speakeasy, a poetry event at House of Blues, and lives in Orange County, California. Welcome to the Poet Speaks podcast, Heather Pease. Heather, how are you?
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. How is it? We were just talking before we started. How is the weather? Right now, I'm in freezing temperatures. I'm below zero where I'm at, and there's snow on the ground. How are you out in the OC? But you're not in the OC per se, right?
I am in the OC. Yes, I'm definitely in the OC, and it's sunny and there's no snow on the ground ever. I wish there would be. It's supposed to rain later today and rain for the next 4 days, but it was 75 degrees yesterday, so it's quite nice.
That sounds beautiful. That sounds beautiful. Like we were saying, you said it doesn't feel like Christmas unless it's snowing though for you, because you're originally from the South. Yeah. I'm wishing we had sun right now. It's like below zero. I'm not feeling it anymore. It's not my thing anymore. But tell us a little bit about your background. Are you originally from the OC?
I'm not. I'm actually originally from the East Coast, which is why I miss the winters so much. I was born in Connecticut, and then we moved to Southern California when I was in grade school. So I've been here probably the majority of my life, but family is all back east.
That's very, very cool. So in Connecticut, I'm curious, were you into poetry back then, or was this a later in life? How did it start for you in terms of your love for poetry, and where did you find it, or did it find you?
Oh my gosh, I think poetry found me. I have all of these poems that were given to me when I was a baby from an aunt. She would always write me all this poetry, and then I would write back to her, and I would write poems. And then my uncle was a poet and an engineer. And so there were poets always all around me. And I wanted to be a writer when I grew up, but I became an accountant instead, because being a writer doesn't make any money. So I decided, well, my parents decided that finance was the way to go, and that, but writing has always been a passion. It's always been something that I've done in a notebook or something that I've not really shared publicly. And I didn't start sharing publicly really until 2014.
Wow. My goodness. Wow. What is that? Wow. I've talked to so many people where it was this thing of writing. There was something that they always loved. I like to say almost closet poets, closet writers. And it's literally like so many people had a whole nother career before they decide to like go all in. What do you say to folks out there though? Because I mean, obviously with your business, I would think accountant, that background has helped quite a bit now with what you do with OC Speakeasy. Tell us, like, has having a whole different career and then jumping into writing, did it look like that for you? You had the career as an accountant and then you were just like, you know what, I'm going to go after it. I'm going to go after writing now full time. What does it look like for you?
So writing is really honestly still a side gig for me, because it's not something that can sustain anything. And so I actually took my finance career and turned it into a talent career, where I was actually finding finance people, and then I started finding other people. And so I've been engineers or setters. So my career has always been finding talent. And when I decided to start writing, or actually sharing my writing, it was really about going to coffee shops and trying to, just share your poetry and trying to find a community where I could share poetry and find other writers. I think that was really difficult for me in the beginning, was trying to find like-minded people who wanted to hear my poetry or anything like that. I would tell people I was a poet and they would give me this look like,
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
give me some Dr. Seuss, give me something that rhymes. They had no idea really what spoken word is. And so it's a lot of telling people what it is and telling them, what it is that I like to do and where you can find it.
Yeah, no, that's pretty amazing. I mean, like, it's, you know what, I just find that so fascinating. So you started off, so accounting, and now that kind of formed itself into kind of finding talent within that. How hard or how easy was it to find that writing community where people understood where you were coming from? People just had the same heart, same passions. How hard or how easy was that for you?
It was really hard, actually. It was really, really, really hard, and especially because I think the first writing venue or the first poetry venue that I walked into, I felt like an immediate outcast, even though the whole room was full of poets. It was very, everybody knew each other and no one knew me. And I felt very alone and very, very scared. And putting myself out there was really terrifying. But what was really nice is once I did, they were very welcoming and wanted me to, come back. And so started introducing me to other venues, but really trying to find venues that you could just, listen to people and feel welcome was really, really hard. When I did find that poetry home, I wanted to be there all the time. And I kept telling people, this is the place you should come. This is the place that feels the most welcoming. If you come here, you're going to feel like you're not alone. And so.
No, that's amazing. For you, like when you look at, I think people think the OC, Orange County, California, people just assume everything about California. Like it's the place progressive, it's the place to be for all the arts. Would you say that's the same with poetry though?
Not in Orange County.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. Actually, that's the crazy thing about what's happening right now, I think, in poetry is in California specifically, poetry is huge in Long Beach and in Los Angeles and in San Diego. Huge, huge communities, not necessarily in Orange County. There's not a lot of venues in Orange County to go to that are exciting and feel like community, feel like, if I go there, I'm accepted and I am someone who is going to be able to share my work and I'm going to be able to, meet other poets that are like me. It's really hard in Orange County.
Wow. How did you kind of, so now kind of going into your work with OC Speakeasy, which is spoken word poetry night at the House of Blues in Anaheim. How did that kind of come about for you? Since it is it's lacking a lot in that area, how did you manage to get this speakeasy for spoken word poetry at the House of Blues of all places? How did you manage to keep going? Yeah.
This is all a hashtag. And it's really honestly not me. So this is the story. My friend, her name is Christina Brown, who is a poet. We have done poetry together since we've met. That's just what we do. She sent me a note on Instagram and said some guy had contacted her saying, do you want to do poetry at House of Blues? And so she's like, I don't think this is real. I think this is, something ridiculous. So we both just immediately, she's like, do you want to do it with me? And I said, yes. So we both started doing some research to find out who this person was and if this was real. And this was in 2019. And it was a promoter from House of Blues reached out to us and asked us to do poetry. And we both walked into this room, which was spectacularly beautiful. And we were the only two poets in the room.
Wow.
But the room was full of bands and they were all playing music. And, I guess it was a showcase basically of bands and then poets. And what was really interesting is when we got up there, prior to us getting up there, a band would go up and they would perform and all the other bands would just leave or not pay attention. When we got up there, everybody got quiet.
Wow. And
it was really interesting. Everyone was paying attention. And afterwards, the promoter came up to me and he said, I want to do this. I want to build a poetry venue.
Wow.
Will you build this with me? And I was like, I said, yes. I said, I know poets that are so much better than myself. I would love to do that. I mean, you don't even understand like the poetry community that I know. So we got to do a showcase in 2019, and it was absolutely amazing. It was so loud that the concert next door, the people who work at House of Blues at the concert next door came over because we were being so loud with poetry in this room. And they were like, we need you to come back. We want you to come back. And so we went and built another venue, and then coronavirus happened and shut everything down literally on the day that we were supposed to have an event called Women Who Roar. My poets called me and said, this is getting really scary. I'm not coming. Disneyland started closing, and I called up the promoter, and he's like, please come. And he's like, please, people will come. And I said, no one is coming. And one poet showed up. No one else showed up for that day because it was just so scary. And I didn't think it was going to happen. I really didn't. And then after the pandemic in this year, my promoter called me again. And he's like, want to do poetry? I was like, yes, absolutely. And that was a week before my birthday. And so I just called up a bunch of people that I knew and said, let's do poetry. And we've been doing it consistently since. And it's been so exciting. We fill the venue every day or every time we do it.
My goodness. Yep. That is that's amazing. How did that feel though? I mean, like you said, y'all were causing more noise at the House of Blues than the bands next door. I mean, how did that feel? Because, again, so many people, they don't have this vision of poetry being this large art event where people come, but
right.
People came in force to your event. How did that feel when that all happened?
Oh my, it's a very surreal out of body experience. And I keep asking people, is this good? And they're like, this is huge. Because I seem to not be able to, I'm not in the room. I don't know how to explain how I feel when I'm in there. It is so big. My feelings are so big that it takes me forever to come down afterwards. I'm always in such awe of how big it is. I just want to sit there and listen to all of them and everything that I'm just so blessed that people would just keep showing up and keep coming back. And people who are not poets are like coming in and wanting to see it again and again and again. And that was something that was really exciting for me. So I think I want to capture all those moments. So I'm always writing down the very special moments that I see that happen at that night. But it's too big to explain my feelings. They're so big.
It's like you can't even articulate it because it's literally, it's one of those things. Yeah. I could only imagine. That's like your dream coming to life. It's like you're literally witnessing your dream actually happen. Most people, you just never get to like witness that.
Right.
Yeah. But tell me, it's also like a kind of one of those things, like, it's one thing I think, and this is a conversation I've had with some friends. To get your dream finally is one conversation, but to now the other side of that, maintaining your dream, that's a whole nother aspect of things. Tell us, like, maintaining OC Speakeasy, how easy or how hard has that been for you in terms of just the whole logistics? Like you mentioned, Corona, COVID, you know what I mean? With upkeeping it, like, how is that maintaining such a big event like this?
Yeah, I have a really phenomenal mentor who sits with me before shows and after shows to kind of go through, what we need to do or what happened in the show that we need to fix for the next show, really to help me just course correct different things, to make sure that the House of Blues is happy, make sure my poets are happy. It's a lot of coordination. It's a lot of Canva, marketing and reaching out to people. But I find it to be it's so easy and fun for me because it translates naturally into my work. I feel like I treat my poets just like I treat executive talent, or I treat them like rock stars. I want to make sure the emails that they get are very professional, letting them know every single thing that's going to happen, when they get there, so that they're treated like a rock star. I think that's one of the things that I want to do the most, is make sure that poets are treated like rock stars at House of Blues. And so I just make sure that I wine and dine and cater to them in every single way for when they get there, that they don't have to worry about anything. They walk in, they can put all their merch down, they can just relax, get a drink, and get ready to perform. And so I think I do a ton of work making sure that that's all coordinated, right up until the moment that they show up. And then I feel like I'm finally, okay, my poet came. Okay, now the show can happen. It's never been an issue, but lots of coordination, lots of marketing, lots of asking people to help. My oldest has volunteered to do all of the photography for us.
Oh,
when
nice.
we first started.
Put the kids to work.
Yes. When we first started, we asked a photographer to do it. And then it turned out that he wanted to be reimbursed, and it's just not something that we could do. So asking my oldest to come in and do photography really helps the poets too, because now they have pictures of them at their event to help them for their marketing as well. So I really try to offer a full service package to the poets, as well as the people who are on the open mic. I also give them all of their pictures as well, because I want them to be able to say, I did the open mic at House of Blues, and here's a picture of it. So
I think that's so just phenomenal and amazing. Like, I had been introduced to the Instagram page. And I mean, just the word speakeasy, for those that don't know, I mean, a speakeasy, that's like a secretive, back in the 1920s, people during Prohibition, let's go drink alcohol. So like, just to have that with poetry, just that word. Then at the House of Blues, what you're doing, I think, is just phenomenal. I mean, really, like, that's just so amazing. For you, do you see this, like, do you ever look at your biz where it's just like, let's go duplicate this, not just in the OC, let's go duplicate this in New York, let's go duplicate this. Are there any thoughts for that?
I love that you're asking me that question. So I got really big and bold, and I sent a proposal to House of Blues to create poetry events in every single one of their foundation rooms across the country.
Yep.
There are 7 foundation rooms, and I want to do it. So I actually am starting out with Anaheim, but I'm going to do Las Vegas as well.
Ooh,
I have that venue.
Yeah, fire. Yeah.
And I want to do the rest of them as well. So I have sent a proposal. I'm keeping up with it. I've told them what I want to do. I actually know poets in most of these different cities. I want to create the model, and then I want to pass it over to those poets. I would love to manage a poetry night for House of Blues, because I think it's a venue that matters to poets because it's House of Blues. And it gives something different than what they're used to having. And poetry is big right now. I mean, it's nominated for Grammys. It's, there's some really big things happening in poetry. And so I want to showcase that. I want people to understand that poetry is more than what they have in their mind or what they've seen as a joke on television, and really give them an experience that is just outstanding, that makes all of their emotions stand outside of their body.
Absolutely. No, I love that. Yeah, I think Las Vegas, that would be dope. I mean, I think a lot of people would love to see something like that. Tell me, before we move on, tell me, for you, I think a lot of people, they'll listen to this and they'll be like, how did Heather do this? This is phenomenal. This is amazing. For you, I think when I listen to you speak, it's really, you've taken poetry and you write yourself, but you've also used it in a different avenue that I think a lot of people don't think to go with their writing, go on these huge offsets, or maybe what started off small is now huge. And it's this different stream of, using your writing in a different type of way. What do you say to like the poets out there where it's just like, how do you kind of get that creative spark to really put your poetry and do, like you said, something different? What would you say to folks out there that are really trying to do that?
I would say that being vulnerable is your biggest asset and your biggest tool. And so to go to someone and say, hello, I'm a poet, can I perform here, is such a risk, but almost always they're not going to say no. So really just that it's going to start a conversation. And so I would tell poets to put themselves out there, just put yourself out there, and don't take no for an answer. I think that's the other hard thing, is that poets take no. And I really take everything that I've learned in business and I apply it to poetry, because I really feel like you can say no to me the first time. That's fine. I'm going to ask you again and again and again, because maybe no today means yes in 30 days because something changed for you. So I'm always telling poets to try things different than what everyone is telling you. Like people say, take your book and sell it at a poetry event. I would tell you to take your book and go down to antique places, into like a main street of a local town, and go into all of the gift shops and say, you want to buy my book? Because those are eclectic little places. So try to put yourself in places where you wouldn't normally see poetry. Don't put it in a bookstore. Try to put your book or put your art in a place that stands out.
Those are some deep gems. Absolutely. Take your poetry, put your art in a place where people wouldn't think to have it, where people don't think, because that's where the change really happens. I like that a lot. I like that a lot. Those are some good gems. You know what? That kind of leads me to kind of my next question for you. Do you think for yourself, obviously you've created spaces of poetry. You may have not seen them, but you definitely you reclaimed spaces. House of Blues, that's a big space. Again, like you said, rockers come there. Music, people didn't think poetry. For you, do you think there's enough spaces for poetry and spoken word, just in general?
I do not. More than that, I feel like there's not enough good places for poetry. I think it was really hard for me to find poetry when I was looking for venues and looking for different places. And as a matter of fact, that's actually where I started, is wanting to build a database of poetry venues or places to go and do poetry. And so I was working with a group of other people trying to find different places. So we would know you can go to poetry here on Monday and here on Tuesday, for anybody who really wanted to go and find poetry. It was a real big search, especially in Southern California in 2016, until 2020. Even now, it's really hard for poets to find poetry. A few people have created some calendar events so you can see them, but there's not enough. I know that there's certainly not enough in Orange County.
Yeah.
I know of 2 other than mine, and they don't bring in the groups and the crowds. It's not, and they certainly don't bring in people who are not poets. And that's what I really want to do, is I want to bring in people that are not poets to see poetry.
Yeah, absolutely. How do you think for folks that are kind of just out there, they're wanting to create these spaces, what do you think is kind of the best plan of action? What do you think is the best way to kind of find that, let's say you're middle of nowhere, Kansas, and you don't have any venues. What do you think is the best plan of action for folks that really want to go on that trajectory? They want to create those spaces. What do you think is the best thing for folks to do out there?
Again, be vulnerable, put yourself out there, go find a venue, walk into a place and be like, oh man, this place is really cool. And then go talk to the manager and say, hey, I'm a poet. Let me show you what I can do.
No.
And I know other poets, and you got to be vulnerable and put yourself out there. I never would have gotten House of Blues had he not said, do you want to do this? And, and other places where I've done poetry, it's because I've gone up to the manager and I've said, hey, can I do poetry here? And if you find a really cool venue and you think people would like to be there, ask. That's really honestly how all of the venues that have been built here. I know that we have a poet in Long Beach who went to a local bar and asked the bar on a night that they're not really normally open, would they open just for poetry? And it worked. They have a cover, they worked it all out, and they're creating a business model. And now this bar that didn't have revenue coming in on that night now has revenue coming in. So I think you just really have to let the business owner know that it's going to be a value add for them as well.
Yeah, that's a good tip as well. Letting people know that this is the value I'm bringing, and then just keep it pushing. Yeah, keep that pencil.
Yeah, don't take no for an answer.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Just keep trying again. It's, that kind of brings up the point too. It's like to be a poet, there is like you have to have courage. You really do have to have courage, because even just, for some people, especially as I've gotten older, some people just have that anxiety of even asking. That's a hard task for a lot of people. And it takes a lot of courage to be vulnerable. Like you said, I mean, it takes a whole lot out of a person to be in that vulnerable stage. How did you kind of get to that point where you're able to kind of just go for it like that? Because I think a lot of poets, they struggle with that, which is why so many stay in the closet, or, metaphorical closet of, I'm not going to put my writing out there. I'm not going to put these ideas out there. For you, again, when people listen to this, they're going to be like, she's the bomb. How were you doing that? Like what was it that kind of got you to this space where you're doing it? Really, you're doing it on such a huge level.
I want to tell you that I have like this wonderful business plan that I could just roll out for you, and this is how everyone's going to be successful. But I 100% got this because of luck and because of, I guess, my business ethic as well. It was offered to me, and then I just took what I know from a business standpoint and said, okay, if I'm going to build this, I want to build this in a way that I feel I would want to come, and so, oof, oh my gosh, I am humbled by all of this. I honestly feel like I have lucked into all of it. It was a hashtag. I didn't ever expect or even want a venue. I wasn't even thinking that way. I was hosting a few venues in Orange County, co-hosting a few venues and stuff, but I never ever thought that this was going to fall into my lap. So what I would say is, if an opportunity falls into your lap, just embrace it and go with it and enjoy the journey and let it just take you wherever it'll take you. Because prior to House of Blues, it was very different for me from a poet standpoint. But House of Blues just changes everything in every way. So I just go for it. I know it's really scary, but I've been on way too many stages where I've said something that is so vulnerable and been so scared. And that one person that walks up to you and says, I feel the same, it makes it worth it. It just makes it worth it. So put yourself out there and share your experience, because you're not alone. And
absolutely, I love that. Yeah, it's kind of the idea, like, just keep going. If you have to course correct, you'll just course correct, but just embrace the journey. Things will be thrown at you, and just got to adjust and just embrace it. I like that a lot, for sure. And outside of OC Speakeasy, you have a debut collection. It's Out of the Weeds. Now, your work, of course, it's appeared in journals all over the place. Several print anthologies and ebooks. Tell us a little bit about your debut poetry collection, and when did that come Out of the Weeds?
Sure, it launched when the world closed. So, which was really, really fun. I came out of the weeds and right back into closure. Out of the Weeds was a book that I've wanted to write a book for over 10 years. And it's just been something that's just, I needed to write this book. And it was such a book of healing and self-acceptance and understanding who I am as a person and loving myself and loving my inner child. It was such a work of all of that it's such a gift to give to the world. I love that I have a book that shares my healing journey. It really helped me. It is a catalyst for this next book that I'm getting ready to publish, which is about dealing with shame. And I think that I'm so proud of my book. Someone told me, the moment you publish your book, you won't like it anymore, but I'm really proud of it. And I love the fact that it's out in the world, and it's international. There are people in different countries that own it, which is really very, very exciting for me. I wanted to create it with women. And so all of the people that helped me with this book were women. And I wanted to make sure that I published it myself instead of having anyone else publish it. I wanted to make sure that I owned the rights to it completely, that I owned everything, because it's so me. I wanted to do it all myself. And I wanted to do it because someone told me that I couldn't and that I shouldn't. And I love it when people tell me not to do something, because it just makes me want to do it more. And yeah, it's been a really good journey. I'm really proud of it.
Absolutely. I can definitely tell just the way you speak about it, the aura coming off of you. This is definitely a labor of love and a long time coming. 10 years you were waiting for that book to write it. What was the 10-year wait for you? What was kind of the in between for that to kind of get to that point?
Oh, that's such a great question. Healing. I had a lot of healing to do. I wasn't completely whole enough to do that. And I think that that's really what this book is a bunch of healing and really that self-discovery of, you don't need other people to love you. You need to love yourself. And then other people will love you. So it was really, I couldn't have written it any earlier than It was. When it was done, you could tell it was like it was magic. I could just see it when it was all over the living room and all placed out. I was like, it's done. This is the entire book. This is the story that I want to tell. And that had never happened for me before. But I could just see the beginning of my pain and the healing journey. And it was just all right there. And it needed to be shared with everybody else.
Facts. No, I love that. And it's such a beautiful thing that you recognize, hey, this is done, when you actually were like, this is complete. So many people feel like it's just never complete, but to get to that point where you're like, this is finite now. I've reached the point where I've said what I need to say. That sounds like such a beautiful feeling. It must be beautiful.
It really was. It's like that healing is, I'm whole.
Yeah.
I feel like that book is, I am whole. And before I was not, I was very much a shattered, broken pieces type of a person. It needed to be done. So I think so that I could take this next journey. Now that I accept myself, now I want others to feel the exact same way. I want them to have all that full acceptance. And so I want to put them on a stage where they're just, everyone is just loving all over them and clapping and accepting them for who they are.
I love that. Yeah, no, that is beautiful. That is absolutely gorgeous. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. That is beautiful. That goes on to like my next question for you. When did you truly know that you were a writer?
I still don't think I'm a writer.
Wow. Yeah.
I think there are so many other writers that are such better writers. I think that I have to write. It has been something that has been driven in me since I was just a little girl. I have to write. I have to. And if you feel that way, you're a writer. Period.
Fair. Yeah.
And I don't think I'm a legit writer. I mean, I still feel like I'm growing and learning, and I could be a better writer. But the more I write, the better that I am. And I think I'm just constantly improving and evolving as a writer. I think I feel like I'm still a very new writer. Even though I've been writing my whole life, I'm still discovering a lot of stuff about myself. I'm still discovering a lot of things about the world that I need to say. As the world becomes what it is, my voice gets a lot louder, and I still have a lot more things to say. So maybe I was born a writer. I don't know.
I love that. No, I love that. And you know what, Heather, this has been just such an amazing conversation. But as we wrap up, I have one last final question for you. We ask every guest this on the Poet Speak podcast. Why do you need to get your words out?
I need to get my words out so that I don't feel like I'm the only one. Every single time I share and someone comes up to me and says thank you, or at least knows that I shared something, so I give them what is it? That feeling of I can write too. I've had so many people come up to me and said, I listened to your poem, so I went home and I wrote for the very first time. And I want to tell them, I want to hear it. Share it with me. Tell me what you wrote. What made you inspired? And so just keep writing. And I love that.
I love that. Ooh, and we can, that is such gems that you dropped, throughout this podcast. I love talking to folks like you because it's so obvious you love what you do, and that just shines through with your words, with your aura, your presence. So thank you so much for being on the podcast. But before we wrap up and leave, I want to know, of course, 2022, at the time of filming, there's about 3 days left. So what's 2022 and 2023 looking like for your writing, as well as your work with OC Speakeasy and just all your projects and beyond? And where can folks find your stuff at? Website, Instagram links, please give it all.
Yes. Okay, so we have a wonderful show planned for the 26th of January. I am right now getting all of that all together and getting my poets confirmed so I can start marketing like crazy for them. So I'm really excited for that. I have enough poets to have an event every single month and beyond. I probably have enough poets right now to do every week if House of Blues wanted me to. which is really exciting. So I have a huge network now of poetry and poets. So I'm going to get started on all of this stuff for this show and get it ready so that we can just create a spectacular 2023 show and set the bar very, very high for, the rest of the year, so that poetry really does create some chaos at the House of Blues, so it becomes something that people really want to see. So that's what I'm excited to do. And so the rest of this year is just kind of planning for the beginning of next year.
Absolutely. And tell us, what are some links that we can check out for the shows and all of your stuff?
You can follow OC Speakeasy on Instagram. You can follow me on my personal account at OOH Poetic, the number 1. On Instagram, you can go to poeticgirl.com. That is my poetry page. It also has everything to do with OC Speakeasy there. And you can find me on Facebook under Heather Pease.
Perfect. All right. Thanks so much, Heather. Everyone, Heather's links will be in the description box of every platform that you listen to this podcast on. You can check out all of her details. We'll have all the links there. Heather, this has been phenomenal. Thank you so much for being a guest today on the podcast.
Thank you so much. It's been so fun. I appreciate you inviting me. This has been great.
Absolutely, Heather. And everyone, go check out all of Heather's amazing work and check out the Poet Speaks podcast, no matter where you listen to your podcast. We'll talk to you soon. Bye, everyone.